Hey, everybody. Welcome into Day by Day. I'm James. I'm with Andrew and Mike. How are you guys doing on this very cold evening here in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Doing great in this not very cold evening in Washington.
Mike,
Think
what's it
we
like where you're at?
it's cold. Let me give you an exact temperature right now. What are we? We are at exactly 0 degrees right now. So
Oh,
we're
so
staying
cold.
warm though.
We're warmer. We're at 2. School's
Oh,
already been called off. I know, Mike, you have opinions about this.
I do.
They haven't called off Thursday yet. Omaha has Thursday morning. Real temp is supposed to be like -12, -14. That's not even the wind chill.
Ooh.
So tomorrow is not even supposed to be the coldest day. But here we are. Next week, it's going to be 60. So as long as we can just get through this week, we'll be good.
we're at 47, and it'll be 47 for the next month and a half, probably. So
You're
not a
spoiled.
whole,
I
not, not a
hate
whole lot of
you.
change.
I hate you so much.
You are spoiled. All right. Well, we got I think, a fun show planned. And we'll get to the meat of it. A little foreshadowing there here in a minute. You can find the show on characterchronicles.com, YouTube, Spotify. Please subscribe to the show and like, comment, share. We'd love to hear from you. All that kind of stuff helps more people find us. So we're grateful for you tuning in today. But first, so last week, I put myself out there. I was trying to be authentic, honest, vulnerable. And I said that I've never had a Fairbury hot dog. And I actually had people who then watched our show last week text me and said, James, you're serious? Yes. I've never had a Fairbury hot dog that I know of. I can't say that my dad maybe one time, when I was a kid, didn't, feed me one at a game, but I'm not a big hot dog at a game kind of guy because, price per bite is pretty low or pretty high on a hot dog. It's like, okay, 3 bites, I'm done. I paid $6, but I have one here because you guys told me I needed to eat it on the podcast.
We have to officially make you a Nebraskan here in your middle years.
Man, I like Runza. What's more Nebraska than that? So Mike, you were the one that was like, you got to wrap it in foil. So I have this in foil. This is probably as close to getting it at the stadium as you'll get because I made this about 50 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So it's not fresh. You know that when you get a dog at a game, they didn't just make that. It's been on that roller grill.
Smash it a little bit. That bun's gotta kind of, there you go.
Now we're talking.
Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to open this up. You can hear the foil. It's just like such a good sound, right? I mean, look at this hot dog. Wet bun.
Yeah.
Right? Crinkly bun, a little bit crunchy on the end. The red 40, can you see that? Is already on. It's already on the bun right there. And I'm going to put the only condiment that you should ever put on a hot dog.
Oh no.
On this hot dog. Oh man, I could smell it. So this smells
James,
like Memorial Stadium right now.
How about like a bite of ketchup and then a bite of mustard? Like expand the test pool here.
No. Why would I do that? Because you don't do that when you go to a game. You don't put
when
ketchup on a hot dog.
When you get a Fairbury, like if you're sitting in the crowd, do they give you like condiment packets?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
You just eat it as is.
We'll let you have mustard though. That's
Shout out Matt Coatney. What goes great on a Fairbury hot dog?
Nothing.
Mustard.
Is mustard. Sorry,
so my first
good.
Fairbury hot nothing. You shouldn't eat a Fairbury hot dog. I don't think that's what you meant.
No.
All right, so I'm gonna eat this. I don't know if you guys want to talk or if you just want to watch me eat, but I'm gonna eat the hot dog. At least take the first bite. I'll let you know what I think.
I'll be honest. I'm jealous because it's probably been three 3.5 years since I've been able to have one.
I'll tell you what, you can
trying
tell
to
that I
think.
made this about 50 minutes ago. I didn't grill it because my grill is frozen outside, like legit frozen. The gas line is frozen. So I boiled this. And I will say that, I mean, it's a hot dog. It's good. It does smell like
taste
Memorial
different to
Stadium.
you than like a
There
normal
you go.
hot dog? To me,
Yeah,
it has like a distinct flavor. I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely like it tastes different than any
It
other.
does. It does. And I will say this. I have a niece and nephew, my wife's niece and nephew, who they will only eat these hot dogs.
I can respect
And I'm with
it.
my boys. I was with my boys when I bought this. And my 5-year-old looks at me. I grab the hot, and he knows that he sees they're red. And he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, I love those." And I was like, when
When
have you
had-
ever had these? And then our 9-year-old goes, "I love the red hot dogs, Dad." And I was like, when
Wow.
we go to games, they always get Valentinos. They never get a hot dog. And I'm like, maybe they've had them at their grandparents'. Maybe it's been at a friend's house, like for a birthday party or something like that. But I'm like, we don't, no offense, Fairbury. Like, again, I got kids, $6 for a pack. Like, it's a little pricey for like just your normal everyday average eating. Now I got 5 more of these. No. 8 in a pack. I got 7 more of these that I need to eat. And I'm not giving them my kids because they got food dye in them, like that cabbage you were eating in Washington.
Yeah.
But it's a good hot dog. I will say it's good. It's a little bit, I feel like it's it doesn't go down like water. Like you get a cheap, 99-cent bar S hot dog. Like you have to chew this. It tastes like there's meat in it, even though it's
all beef, right? I'm pretty sure it's all beef.
I'd have to get the package. I don't know, but it's good. It's good.
I like them.
All right.
I'm a fan of them. Not a paid statement, but not a sponsored statement. I like the
Fairbury
hot
did
dog.
not. Fairbury did not pay us to do this segment, but we will take sponsorships. Fairbury, if you're out there watching,
send me some packs out to Chicago.
we are open. We are open to endorse Fairbury hot dog.
And please keep them at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, and guys, I didn't have a big dinner tonight, so we're recording this at 9:30 at night. This is good. This is like a nice snack to end the day. So, all right. Well, what do you guys want to get into? Where are we going to start? Big basketball win this week. Baseball 2-2. We want to talk a little Scot Frost here in a little bit. You want to start with basketball?
Let's do it.
Mike, you were there. Tell us, lay it on us, man. What was Evanston like?
Oh my gosh. What a roller coaster of a Sunday afternoon. So first off, I bet like living out in this direction, I live about 45 minutes north of Evanston. So I've been to Evanston like a handful of times. I like going down there anytime I have the chance. So if you listening have never been to Evanston, it's very like old money, super, I don't know if bougie is the right word, but just like very elaborate houses, old, beautiful houses down there. I'd been to like Northwestern's campus one other time. I went to a Nebraska football game down there, probably in like, I want to say 2017 or 18, sometime around then. And so like we got down there pretty early and kind of just spent some time driving around campus, went and looked at like the current football stadium they play in, which was kind of fun to look at. Looked at like their new practice facility. So it was really cool. Like I like their campus a lot, very unique, a lot of cool things to look at. So we got to the game about 30-ish minutes before, and we go like right up to our seats and like sit down. And I'm not kidding when I say this. We were sitting there for like 15 seconds. And this guy about 5 or 10 rows in front of us that was like decked out in Northwestern gear, he goes, "We're not going to be using these seats for the game." He's like, do you guys want to use them? And I was like, yes. It's like, 10, 15 rows in front of us.
Wow.
And he was clearly going up to like the suites or something. I could kind of get the idea that he was a regular there, like season tickets type of guy. And I was like, yeah, that'd be so awesome. Thank you. And he's like, you bet, go Big Red. And I was like, all right, this is pretty cool.
Wait, what color was he wearing?
He was wearing all Northwestern gear. And I think he was just trying to be welcoming. And I was like,
Wow.
you know what? I appreciate it. I shook his hand and then he went on his
Wow.
way. So that was like a cool start to it.
All right, Northwestern fans, you just went up a couple notches in my book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm seeing the gate 1 behind you, Mike, through these gates.
Exactly.
I mean, through those gates, past some of the nicest fans in college basketball. How about that?
And then like, I've always known this about Northwestern, but like every time I've been down there, it just always kind of like, it like takes me back a little bit, but it is such a different crowd at their games than like what a Nebraska home game is like. It's, like people describe Notre Dame football as like the wine and cheese crowd, and it very much feels like that at Northwestern events as well. So
wow,
much older, like fan base, I would say, definitely more wealthy. And their student section was like non-existent. I
saw the pictures.
Yeah, there was a lot of pictures floating around, but the actual like general kind of general seating was like pretty full, but the student section was essentially empty. So as far as the game itself, the first half I wanted to leave, and I was like, you know what, we're just gonna stay. It was cool to see like Griffiths get a little bit of time there in the first half. At halftime, I went and got a couple hot dogs. They had Vienna beefs there, which obviously is a Chicago staple.
Yep.
They were not good though. Like I could tell they'd been sitting in I don't know what they had them in, some sort of
the roller.
warmer.
Yeah.
And they were like really tough and not good Vienna beefs. So, but definitely.
How much did you pay for them, Mike?
Those were, I want to say $4.50 a piece. I got 2 of them.
That's not bad.
No, everything seemed like reasonably priced. I got a pop for I think $4 or $5. Like it honestly, it was pretty reasonable. So then at halftime, we're down 15. I was not super happy, so I was trying to eat my feelings away with a couple hot dogs. I put ketchup on those, by the way. Sue me. Yeah. And then sit back down for the second half, and they go 3-pointer.
Yep.
We turn it over. They hit like a layup, whatever it was, and we're down 20 like instantly. And I'm like, okay, this is just going to be a disaster. And then it turned into like slowly just kind of chipping away. And I was like, I was looking over at my wife and I was like, if we can just get this thing back down to single digits, I was like, we're going to win this game. I literally said that to her with like 15 minutes left in the game. I was like, if we can just get it to single digits, they're going to feel the pressure and they're going to collapse. And that's exactly what they did. And it was so cool to see like all the Husker fans that were there. I lost my voice in the second half. Like I tweeted that I had an elementary age kid like yelling at me. I didn't even care. Yeah. I was going wild. I was having a good time with it. So
I'm always curious, what's your wife like with you at a game?
She's silent. She's just there. She like knows me. We've been married 6 years.
She lets you do your thing.
Yes, 100%. And like she actually said after the game, she's like, I felt like you were a little more tame than you normally are. So I am very much like into games. I'm very theatrical. Yep. We'll have to go to a game sometime. You'll
being in person is just so fun. It's just like I get to be a kid again, right?
Yeah.
And just shout and yell. And I do that not so much at home. I do a little bit. I think I lost it on the Bryce Williams 4-point play a little bit. And I think at that point I was like, we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
It's our day. It's our day.
Mike, you and I had a very similar experiences. Actually, my son joked, he goes, we like to come back against these purple teams. Like it was kind of weird watching that, being at the Washington game and very, very similar setting.
Yeah.
Come back. Obviously we came back in a different fashion, but yeah.
And you both had bad hot dogs.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
And I will say, like, Welsh Ryan, you see it in pictures, but it's very small, doesn't hold a huge capacity, but they have that roof lowered and it's very like compacted in there. It got decently loud. Like I was a little, I mean, it wasn't like, deafening or anything like that. But when Northwestern was going on their runs, like the crowd was into it. It was decently loud. I thought their game production and like all their things to kind of do like the fan entertainment, I thought it was phenomenal. Like I think they do a really good job there. I had a blast. I'm next time we play down there, I'm going to go down there again. Tickets were cheap, and I had obviously the 20-point comeback helped, but I had a great time. So
now, Mike, did you notice that Hoiberg had the bandage on his hand?
So it's funny you say that. I think it was so I had a buddy text me during the game, like, what's on his hand? And then my wife was like, he came out at halftime and he had the Band-Aid wrapped. And I thought that he had hurt his hand at the under 4 timeout. So they probably didn't show it on TV.
Because you texted us this at halftime.
I did, yeah.
Or the first half, or whenever it happened.
And the under 4 timeout, he took his clipboard. So he was on the court and everyone was kind of walking over, and he took his clipboard and like chucked it like he was like skipping a rock, and it like shot under their bench, like had to be 20 feet. And I was like, I didn't know if he had like sliced his hand on the edge of it or something or what, but turns out he like punched a whiteboard in the, but to me, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I bet he like sliced his hand when he like threw the clipboard. So that was, obviously you saw the frustration going out there, but they probably didn't show that on TV, but he let his clipboard rip there at the under 4 timeout.
I think they said on TV, they said at one point he tried to break it over his knee. and that didn't happen either. So
yeah,
he was out of control.
That poor clipboard was taking a beating Sunday.
Well, so did you notice in the cinematic recap, you could actually see if you pause the video, you could see the dent, what looks like a hole from probably a middle knuckle in the whiteboard. I'm assuming that's what it's from. He just doesn't get riled up all that much. And so I know that people are like, oh, he needs to show some more emotion. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, that's just who he is. Like, you can't make somebody do that. But obviously he was ticked off enough that he's like, I'm going to punch something.
His little mantra at the end of games, he'll say, me, I don't get too high, don't get too low, but let's F it go, So yeah, he got pretty low. It seemed that he was wanting. Now, here's the question I ask. I think I've heard others ask this. Does something like that really help a team at halftime? Obviously it did in this case, but I'm just curious what you guys think. Is that effective? You can't do that every game.
Right. I think it's got to come from like obviously a genuine spot. And I think with him, it definitely does. Like when he's upset, obviously, like it doesn't happen very often. I don't know. Like I struggle with this team as far as their highs and lows. It's like that was probably the worst half of basketball, close to it, they've played all year, like outside of the Purdue game. But it's like, man, I don't know I don't think that was their best second half of basketball they've played. I just think they just started playing better, but that first half with the turnover, I don't know. I mean, they clearly flipped a switch. So to me, it was effective. They started to get into it in the second half. But it's like, let's do that at the start of the game and just make it a lot easier for ourselves.
You hope.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you hope it doesn't have to be that way from the coach, but I agree. I think when you have a coach that's even keeled like him to show that contrast, that can be helpful. I think ultimately you want it to come from the players. My son actually made an observation during the game. I think Jawan hit, maybe it was in the second half, he hit a 3. I think my son Jawan's kind of grimacing down the court, just looked pissed off. And my son said, he looks really angry. So that's a good thing, because you kind of you felt that fire coming. Yep.
I don't think Northwestern was really doing anything special in the first half defensively. I mean, offensively, they did start to cool off. I think they had 35 36 points at halftime. Mike, Nebraska had what,
Yep.
21 or something like that. So
Yep.
really the offense was the issue. I just don't think there was a lot of intentionality. I don't think there was a lot of focus because it was it was lazy passes.
Yep.
And rebounding, it's
They
like
weren't getting to the hoop.
That's just effort and focus and hustle. It's not, Northwestern was not playing better.
Yeah.
They're not more talented. Nebraska is, but when you don't have hustle, you don't have focus, you don't have the intentionality. It's like, yeah, you're going to get blown out of the gym. And
right.
that if they would have ended up losing that game by 20, 30, 40 points, like you almost could have kissed this season goodbye, losing to that team in that way.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They turned it around. I mean, I'm super impressed. Like I can't believe what I watched. I can't believe
Well, they hadn't won there since 2014. So,
correct.
Coming in there after, I think, losing 8 straight at Northwestern it's impressive too. So
seen enough of Boo Booey, was glad to not have him on the court.
He was there.
He was there.
Did they show him?
Showed him. Oh, of course they showed him.
Yeah, I looked over at my wife and I was like, that guy used to torch Nebraska.
Yeah. I thought Martinelli was going to also. That guy seems
he's good. I tell you what,
yeah.
He's actually like a Chicago kid too, so it's pretty cool to see him do well for them. But he's very like he's kind of a thicker kid, and he just would like put his shoulder down, and they struggled to like keep him in front. He's impressive.
Yeah. So I do have to say, for me, the MVP of the game was Braxton Mia. I don't know if you were sensing that in real time, Mike, being there, but what he brought to the floor when he came in. I mean, he was there in the first half, and then Morgan started the second half. I think he played the first 5 minutes, and then at the under 16, Morgan left and never came back into the game that I remember. Because what Mia brought was that paint presence that I really thought he was going to be the whole year. And I felt like we were seeing the rebirth of Braxton Mia, maybe the last couple of games, but certainly this game where, holy cow, like, I mean, he changed the way Northwestern played. And then he ended up scoring 10 points and he went perfect from the free throw line again. I'm like, what's gotten into you, man? Like, that's the Braxton Mia I think Nebraska needs down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
That alley-oop that they kind of did that pick and roll with Raleigh.
Beautiful.
Oh my goodness. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
And
again, good coaching, good adjustments. We're seeing that too. These wins.
I do want to ask Mike what you thought about the flagrant foul on Aaron Eulis. You maybe not have gone back to watch it, but I'm just curious in the arena what people were saying, what they were thinking on TV. I correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew. I think the announcers were like, "Yep, that was flagrant," and I'm like, "He didn't really touch him. He actually tried to get out of the way, and he did a bad job of doing it." But
had he not fallen on his backside, I think the fall is one of those. The reaction to the fall was.
I think the offensive player. Yeah, I think he tried to draw the contact, and instead of just dunking the ball and being done with the play, he did something weird with his body and ended up, making himself fall over. But
they didn't announce anything on the PA for that, so like it was one of those things where I didn't like see it very well. The one I can't believe I don't know what they were saying on the broadcast for it, but the Braxton Mia where he kind of came down with his elbow.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like the crowd was super into that. And I looked at my wife, I was like, they're going to call I thought he intentionally elbowed him on the head.
That,
but so
looked like Mia was trying to clear his head.
Yeah.
And the guy, I think he was pulling a Mighty Ducks moment where he's like, oh my gosh, I'm cut, because the way that Mia's elbow went over his head, it couldn't have come down on him with enough force to hurt him, because Mia was really going up and around. And so I get it looked ugly, but I was like, both guys were just tangled up with each other and they made the right call, thankfully. What should have been a flagrant was at the end of the game on the breakaway. And the guy reached out and grabbed Bryce, which Bryce had done earlier in the year when I can't remember who we played, but same situation, end of game moment, breakaway, an automatic flagrant one. It just is what it is. Of course, they didn't call it, probably because they're like, there's only 1 second left, but got to call those. That's what the rule says. So,
what I have a hard time, that Euless one, their language that they use is excessive contact, when it's like there was like hardly any contact, no contact. So but
change the rule to say you need to make a better effort to get out of the way or whatever. But so what are you guys looking for tomorrow night when Nebraska plays Penn State?
Not to play their worst half of the season.
Okay, let's do it
out the gates.
Andrew, I'm getting Nebraska at Washington vibes again from this game.
Okay.
I think it's like
sleepy.
Yep. I'm like, let's bring it. We got to bring it, or they're going to bring it against us. I'm a little nervous. I just feel it's like we should win this game. So I don't know.
They stayed out there. They didn't.
That's what I wondered.
Home. They stayed out. They went right to, of course, being in State College for 2 days could crack anyone.
Yeah, that's sleepy.
But hopefully they bring, and I think like hopefully they just realize like, okay, the game that we just played again could have ruined us. We can't do that again.
Yeah.
The formula with Washington was patience. It didn't look as ugly actually as Northwestern to me. I don't know if you felt that way,
right?
Andrew,
I agree.
It didn't feel as Washington just felt like they came out on fire.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the game where they hit like 7 threes?
Mm-hmm.
Their first 7 of the game. Yeah.
A lot of them were contested. And it's like, what are you going to do? They cooled off quickly, and Nebraska ended up, with a good win, an easy win.
And energy though, like Nebraska came out second half with just a 180 energy wise. So that's what you gotta pull out there in State College or not.
They have to do that.
I wonder too, like, not to be a Debbie Downer here, but Nebraska did the shoot around at MJ's mansion the night before. Like, I wonder if that had an impact on them coming out shooting wise. But I mean, it wasn't even shooting; it was just honestly turnovers. But they kind of did that for the Twitter clout, and then they came out and played absolutely horrendous. So
I think the best tweet I saw, came from Steve Sipple, where he said they did the shoot around at Jordan's, but they're shooting like Rodman or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was, or playing offense like Rodman. So
I think what you want to see with this team, 5 games left, is, I mean, the urgency should be at an all-time high. Not that they're in survival mode, but it's like, they can kind of see all the national talk and think we really have a chance to improve that seeding, make a little run here. We're kind of in the middle of a little bit of a run, with the exception of the loss to Maryland. So, you would hope that the motivation is, the urgency's ramped up quite a bit.
Yeah, and obviously all the bracket projections are based on kind of the wins and losses that people expect them to have. They don't expect them to go 5-0 and make a run in the tournament. But you go 5-0 and make a run in the tournament, you could be looking at a 7-6 seed. Great.
Yeah.
Get out of the 8-9 game. Get yourself, you'd be a favorite in that game. So it's all out there for them. But I think, again, it's like, you guys, these are older guys. They need that to keep the killer instinct that they have in these games that they've won at the end. It's like, but start with it, man. I mean, you could have beat North. I mean, they scored 45 points in the second half. You could have beat them by 30.
Yeah.
Like you probably should have. I'm hoping they don't sleepwalk through the first half tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But I will prepare myself emotionally for that to happen. So, okay, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk some baseball. 2-2 to start the season in Arizona. Kind of what I was thinking would happen. To be honest, I didn't expect them to beat Vanderbilt. But, they didn't play the greatest schedule in the world, but it wasn't the worst. And I think that just being on the road, being outdoors, not for the first time, but first time real baseball outside is always an adjustment when you're a Midwestern team. And so I saw a lot of people freaking out on Twitter that we went 2-2. And so I wrote an article about it last night. I was up way too late trying to get that done so it can go out this morning. So if you haven't been through these gates yet today, you could check that out. Basically talking about the need for patience, embrace the grind if you're watching and rooting for baseball, because it's a lot different than football. So curious what you guys think starting out 2-2 this year.
I'll be honest, I have zero Husker baseball. I had a busy weekend. I went hiking yesterday, so
that's allowed. I mean, it's okay. You could skip a sport. Mike, you're the baseball guy. I mean, you're a coach. How do you look at an opening weekend like this? I mean, I know what you think, but I want you to tell everybody else how you look at an opening weekend like this, where you play a really bad game and then the next game you're on fire and then you blow a team out and then you lose a game you could have won, but some things didn't go your way. And, it was kind of a 50-50 game there on
I think like
Grand Canyon.
I think what like the average fan that's not close to baseball doesn't understand is like the variance of baseball that just does not exist in like football, Alabama is, or Georgia is never going to lose to like an FCS school week 1. It's just not going to happen. But like, we play UC Irvine, who is like a very, very sneaky good college baseball team that like the average person is going to be like, we lost to UC Irvine. It's like, because they actually have a bunch of California kids on their team that play baseball year round and they're dudes, So I'm never going to either react super positively or negatively to the week 1. Like, it's good that we beat Vanderbilt. I think that's solid for, our resume going forward. But to me, like for Nebraska's resume going into regionals, it's so much more about what we do in conference play. Like playing 100%. In the Big Ten, unfortunately, I think is more about like how many losses you have rather than who you beat. Just because we know that the Big Ten is not the strongest baseball conference out there. So it's almost like you have to go into each weekend planning on winning 2 out of 3 or sweeping the series. You just kind of have to do that if you want to get to where you want to be. So, and I think like this year, we struggled with Creighton last year in the midweek games. Like, I think we need to take care of them a little bit better. Playing K-State's always a good team as well during those midweeks. So, and then who do they play? Who do they play this weekend? I forget.
Louisiana. They play Louisiana.
Yeah, who will like be another solid I know we have
regional team.
Oregon State. So the non-conference is like really tough. So
it is.
To me, I'm less worried about those games. It'll be good to win here, one or there, whatever it may be. But like, to me, when we get to Big Ten play, like that's when it really, you need to buckle down, win 2 out of 3 or sweep and just keep going from there.
Yeah. They play. So after they come back from Louisiana, they play Sam Houston in Frisco, Texas, and they play LSU, and then Kansas State in Frisco. That's at the Frisco College Baseball Classic. And then they play Omaha, March 4th. And then their first home game is South Dakota State. And then they start Big Ten play with Washington. And then they have Wichita State come into town. And then it's then UCLA. And then they slip Pepperdine in there for a midweek. They go out to California.
All of those non-conference games are either like super good teams or like sneaky good teams. Like I don't consider any of those teams to be like sleepwalkers. So that's good. That's good that we're getting those in.
I mean, and then you got another Kansas State game, 3 against Oregon State and Creighton. And so last year where it's like, okay, your midweek games, you had some against, was it South Dakota or North Dakota State or something like that? And it's like
Northern Colorado, probably.
Northern Colorado, like they're scheduling big boys, right? They're scheduling teams that could make the College World Series, which is what they want to do. And I think you're right, Mike. Like the Big Ten is so weak, you have to schedule these teams to help your RPI essentially when it comes to seeding time for the regionals. You can't keep scheduling cupcakes and then say, well, we'll just win 2 or 3. Well, no, if you schedule the cupcakes, you almost have to sweep every series in conference, and that's just not realistic. So, man, take 1 of 2 from Pepperdine, take 2 or 3 from Morgan State. You beat Vanderbilt. Can you beat LSU? Like these are huge games coming up early on in the year.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's the message. Chill a little bit too, fans. Patience. It's gonna be a long season.
It's just so different. And if you I don't know if you guys had a chance, but if people go read what I wrote, a part of it is it's a little bit of a intellectual take on baseball. Baseball to me it's deliberative. It's almost a meditation. You have to, you can play right field and never touch the ball for 9 innings. Think about that. It's not likely in a major league game or college, but you could sit out there for a couple innings and your pitcher is just dealing. And you're like, he's going to strike out the next 9 guys and I'm just going to stand here and cheer for him. And you're not a part of the game, but you are a part of the game, but you always have to be mentally ready. And it's like, we're talking about 3 innings. Now we're doing this over the course of 4 months, 56 games, or, if you're playing rookie ball, 80 games, 162 for major leaguers. Like, it is a grind. It is attrition. And, I think I looked up the record for longest losing streak for a World Series champion. And I think it was 9 games. I'm blanking on who. The Cardinals lost 8 games twice and won the World Series. And so you think about that, like, man, there was a World Series champion who lost 9 games in a row at one point. And I bet you at some point in that 9-game streak, fans were like, they're done. They're done. It's like, nope, that's not how baseball works. And maybe even basketball. Maybe you can lose 6 games in a row.
Right.
And
you're not dead. Do it in the right time of the season. Yep.
Okay. We got a few minutes left here. Mike, you got something on your chest that you need to get off your chest.
Yeah. I wish we weren't talking about him, but here we are. Scot Frost, man. What are we doing? So, if you didn't hear, I think a lot of people heard his comments.
Everybody's heard it.
Yeah. I think everyone heard it for the most part, but he just has this thing where he can't let go of the past, Yeah. He did it when he was at Nebraska and he kind of belittled Mike Riley and talked about how things used to be, you know, and how he's trying to flip it around. And now, he was talking about, making kind of backhanded comments about Trev Alberts at UCF. And the whole time I was listening to it, and I kind of saw some people on Twitter, getting behind Scot Frost, yeah, you tell him. It's really? If you didn't do what you did at Nebraska and your teams were not so unbelievably bad, Trev would have never had to be in the situation he was in to fire you, and people, there's Trev basically left Scott out to dry, but it's you were put in that situation because of yourself. And he seems to lack ownership in that. And it's really, I don't know what you guys think about it, but it's really bothersome to me. It got me because it's he hasn't seemed to learn about the ownership piece where it's just stop talking about what's happened and just focus on what's right in front of you.
I kind of go back to what we said this a lot during his tenure here was seen this movie before, seen the same. And that's kind of how that felt is he really comes out with that, not so much like Bo Pelini, us against the world mentality, but that defensive already, doesn't want to take any responsibility. He actually, when he was coaching here, I think it was right after Moose was ousted or, however that went down, kind of threw Moose under the bus a little bit, talking about needing more, how he had to kind of do a bunch of stuff, other things outside of football. I think he alluded to him having to do some athletic, overall athletic stuff. So, it's just it's a tired look a little bit. It'll be interesting to just see how they do over the year. And if they don't have success, are we going to see kind of some more of that? But
yeah, I really haven't processed it all that much, but I don't disagree with either one of you. I think you know, I've been in similar situations where you take over for a leader, and my kind of personal preference or maybe kind of the ethic that I stick to is, you know, if you need to have those conversations in private with the people that are helping you make decisions or helping you lead, and you say, hey, this happened before, let's not repeat that. I get that. There's a place for that because, you know, all of the leadership laboratories you've been a part of, they shape the way that you lead today. But that's just not something you talk about at a press conference or an interview or publicly, right? You don't put that in the paper. You don't put it on the internet. Like privately, sure, tell your boss, hey, I felt, and whether he's right or wrong, right? I felt I didn't get support from my last gig because of ABC, XYZ, and I'm wondering if we could do it this way here. Great. That's a legit conversation to have. But doing that in an interview setting, like that, like I would just, I don't want to sound like self-righteous or holier than thou, but it's like, I try to guard myself so I don't do that in those situations. And I wish that in that moment he would not have gone there, because now if things don't work out at Central Florida, what card is he going to play?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's either you got to accept responsibility, like you guys said, or you're going to say, I just didn't get the support I needed. Well, now if that's the case, man, now it's 2 places in a row where you didn't get the support you needed.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is he's coming into a situation off of a horrendous stint as a head coach. He's still coming into a situation where he's kind of the return of the, you know, the golden
Isn't it
son
funny?
or the
Right.
It is. So, you know, it comes to Nebraska and it's big. He's the savior. Back to, you know, what he did at UCF the first time around. Now he's coming back and he's like, you just sense that he knows that and he loves that. So
yeah. And I get like Trev probably came in with, you know, the idea that he was going to fire Scott at some point. I think the first thing he did as AD was to like reduce his contract, right? Reduce his salary. So I know that their relationship was not good from the get-go, but it's like, you know, he's complimenting his UCF AD and like just cannot help himself to like throw a jab at something that happened in his past, which honestly was like his responsibility. Like the reason that Trev fired you was because you were a bad head coach at Nebraska. So
because he had 3.5 seasons before Trev even got there, right?
He had plenty of a runway to show some promise, and you know, it just, you know, it was bad. It was a bad tenure. So
I mean, I just think it's just so easy for us, for humans, to just be like, you know, I'm just going to throw someone under the bus at the same time I'm trying to compliment someone else. Like we do that all the time, and there's like, I just want to be like, don't do that. Like, just say what you're going to say about the person you're applauding and building up without trying to tear anybody else down. Because usually what I know when I do that is like, I'm trying to make myself look better. I'm trying to cover up any inadequacies or deficiencies in myself. And I know that we're like that. But again, I just think like you can't, when you're such a public figure, you need to just be so careful of that. You need to be so careful of that, because you're also, as a coach of young men, but also some kids, like, you know, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, you're modeling for them how you're going to take responsibility. Because I know a coach will not want to hear from a guy who doesn't do what he's supposed to do on the field. He's like, well, I didn't get all the support I needed from my position coach at practice this week. Like, okay, that's not going to fly, dude. Like, that might be true. And that's another conversation. But what I just saw out there on the field is not what we teach you. Yeah. So you got to give me something else. So it's like, those are not insignificant moments, I think, for a leader, for a coach.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I do have thoughts too, Mike. Now, do you guys think he's going to do well?
I don't know. I mean, based off of how it went, I mean, okay, we just got to go off of track record here.
I mean, he is in a better conference now. Big 12's not
better for him, you mean?
No, I mean than the AAC, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Like,
yeah.
Arizona, Arizona State. Sorry,
yep.
Kansas had a down year, but they've had other good years. BYU's no slouch. Like, Iowa State. The Big 12 has some good teams, and so I am really interested.
Don't forget
Colorado.
Dion. Yep.
Yes.
There you go.
We could talk about. Oh
not hard to find, Dion.
He's not hard to find. We won't talk about how their recruiting rankings are in the 40s, and he doesn't leave campus. But I digress. So the Big 12 is better than the American Athletic Conference, whatever UCF used to be in. So it's like, the competition's going to go up. It's not Big 10 level, but.
I mean, their toughest game was like South Florida, and it would be 45 to 43 or something. So, yeah,
exactly.
It's also different. I mean, landscape has changed. Just like we say with Rule, when he returned, his recruiting's different, NIL's different, all that stuff. UCF's in a different place, so it's hard to predict.
So before we end up close out our time here, do you guys feel like you're drinking more Kool-Aid football as the off season goes on? Matt Rule is in the public eye. He's on Josh Pate. He goes to that Broyles Award. He gives a speech. He's all over the place. Are you guys just like soaking it in? You're like, we should be able to win 11 games.
I think I'm in that natural lull of, late January, February. Like I feel like I'm not consuming football content right now at all, but I know that once spring ball starts up, I'll be drinking the Kool-Aid for sure.
Ditto. I'm right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty locked in on basketball right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And baseball, yes. I not all the games are on, so I listen a lot. And I miss listening to Greg, right? Like I miss not having him on the call. And Ben's great. Nick's great. Nick actually was my freshman baseball coach when I was at Omaha Central. Nick Hanley's a great dude. Love Nick. But I miss listening to Greg. So I'm now, starting to give some allegiance to baseball, but I'm locked in on basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm also locked in on trying to, be an advocate for transparency with the net, but that's another whole conversation.
Uphill battle.
All right. You guys got anything else before we call it a night?
I don't. Let's keep winning. I agree. Locked in on basketball.
I'm glad we can finally call James a Nebraskan now.
Yes.
Fairbury hot dog.
Yeah. Hey,
with mustard.
Feel free to freeze one of those and send it my way.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you guys want them? I'll send them to you. It might cost me $45.
Right.
Ship it with some dry ice, but I can get it there.
I need a care package. Like I need Runza, Val's, and Fairbury.
That would be awesome. There should
throw
be
in a Casey's pizza.
My
thing like that.
My sister a few years ago sent me a dozen Runzas. They ship them.
Oh, nice.
They do.
Oh, wow,
it's expensive.
It's not cheap. Yeah.
I think it's like $125 for a dozen of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying a hefty price.
But if you live in Illinois and you want them,
that's
worth it.
I'll ship you back some Italian beefs or something like that. We'll do an exchange.
Just not from Evanston. All right. Okay. Well, we'll call it a night. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you listening. Remember to subscribe, like the show, comment. We're grateful for all of our listeners and viewers. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, go Big Red tomorrow. I'm going to miss the first half, but I am excited to hopefully tune in to a blowout to end the game. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Let's do it.
Go Big Red.
All right. Go Big Red, everybody. We'll see you next time.